Lance by Chance. The untold story of him wrestling as a Von Erich. LanceByChance.com.
Fans, welcome back for another week of Working Fans Wednesday. I'm producer Joe. I will be joined shortly by AJ Strangebrew and the man called Dave. We will be talking Top Factions, Knockout Wrestling, episode 11, tomorrow night on all their social medias, as well as tonight's AEW, MLW, and NXT cards. Now, if you want to find us on our social medias, as always, on Twitter and on Twitch, we are at Fans Working. Facebook is the Working Fans Podcast Facebook page. Our email, workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. Our Instagram, workingfanswrestling_pod. YouTube is youtube.com/c/workingfanswrestlingpod. Our website, workingfanspodcast.com. Patreon, patreon.com/workingfanspodcast. Now, our comedy podcast releases every Tuesday, while our wrestling podcast releases every Thursday. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Cast. Any major podcast provider will have us. Most importantly, I'm getting tongue-tied because it's really important that you subscribe, like, rate, review wherever you can. It helps push us up the charts, and it helps us get better known. But speaking of better known, we want to introduce you to some of the audio podcasts that The Buzz has to offer. Now, we are brought to you by 482 Designs. That's FOUR82 Designs @gmail.com. We printed up stickers, shirts. They do a great job over there. Email them. They'll set you up with something nice. Also, WrestleTopia. You remember JD Sloan. He was on here talking about Tracy Smothers. That's WrestleTopia on Facebook, @WrestleTopia on Twitter. Lance by Chance. You saw the commercial at the top of the show. Vinnie Berry wrote a book with Lance Von Erich, now known as Lance Vaughn. This is the story of how Kevin Vaughn went on to become Lance Von Erich, and then Lance Vaughn, the globe-trotting playboy later in life. This story is not just interesting for a wrestling fan. His life outside of wrestling, I've said it many times before, arguably more interesting than working for Fritz Von Erich, if you can believe it. But go check that book out, LanceByChance.com. Last but not least, The Buzz. This is our Facebook family, if you will. This is our podcast family, our podcast network. I'm so tongue-tied because I can't tell. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for The Buzz. Be sure to go like their Facebook page, and also they have a bunch of live shows, not just us playing right now. So here's a little commercial letting you know the assortment that they have. Now, before I bring the guys in, we got one last commercial. It's just where to find the Buzz on social media. There's so many good articles they write, so many good podcasts. You've seen the assortment. Go find them on Facebook. Go find them on www.what-the-buzz.com. Sorry, it's a bit of a tongue twister, but here's where to find them on social media. And after that, we will talk about the greatest factions of all time.
Get the Lambo car, house in the hills with the stars. Told you I'd raise the bar, told you that I go far. Baby, it's crystal clear. I'm not a souvenir. I'm not an accessory. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now. I'm a necessity. So come and check me out now.
Guys, the boys are back in town. How are we doing today?
Feeling good. Looking good.
I'm feeling like a necessity. I hope they come and check me out now.
Now,
you
guys,
look like an old piece of furniture, baby, about to move you. What are you doing? Bring the energy up.
now this week, I think we're talking maybe one of our favorite subjects, best factions. And I think there's only going to be one winner, but we'll see how it works out.
Ooh. Who? Do you know who we picked the last time? You don't have to tell me, but do you know?
I did not write it down now.
My
She's gotten
favorite,
busy, Dave.
I know, baby. I know.
my favorite faction is Mayhem.
Okay.
Oh, Magnificent Mayhem.
Yeah.
Bill Crude, big son of a bitch, but, we'll let that slide. Dave, you want to give us your list first?
Yeah, sure. Actually,
Bill Crude is a great, magnificent human being.
Actually, before I give you my list, let me give you a friend of the show, Randy Oscar's list, because
Oh, Jesus Christ, I was about to forget him here.
yeah, he was nice enough to send us a list. He's got the Four Horsemen, Evolution, Bullet Club, NWO, and the Dangerous Alliance. So, solid list by my man Randy. I'll jump into my list here. I got NWO, the Horsemen. Woo! I got DX, suck it, and we got Evolution.
Not the first time he said it this week either.
Probably won't be the last. Evolution.
He did go to church this week.
Evolution, baby. All right, that's what this show is. We're evolving. Evolution. All right. And last but not least, I got to give it up for my boys, the Pink and Black Attack, the Hart Foundation, but not Brett and Jim. Brett, Jim, Brian Pillman, Davey Boy Smith, and Owen Hart. That group.
As one of the best factions of all time.
Listen, I'll put them up over there with Evolution. Here's the thing. Like, in terms of, like, better than Devastation Incorporated, some of those. Here's why.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, here's why, okay? You're talking about wrestling talent.
I don't even got to say shit. Dave just lit the fuse.
All right, Davey Boy was in his prime at this point, all right? Davey Boy Smith was throwing around Vader in WCW. He came over as having classic matches with Brett and Owen. All right. Owen, you consider yourself, AJ, the best Heart, actually, as far as in the ring goes. Brett, all right, was already a multiple-time world champion. Brian Pillman, his persona was absolutely – the weak link of that was Jim the Anvil Neidhart, who was still a powerhouse at that time. They got mega heat. They were absolutely over everywhere else. So they got a great reaction all the time. Yeah,
you got him chomping at the bit to talk.
And look at Backley right there. He got my back. You're damn right, Backley.
Okay, first of all, when it comes to Jim Neidhart, who?
Great. I remember telling you about that.
Hey, his daughter on Instagram is a fucking gem.
Yeah, and not Nighty, his other one. But you know what? I got no problem with the I got no problem with the Hart Foundation. You can definitely put them up there with,
they're not my number one.
A lot of the groups. I think that at this point we reflect back on them. It just, to me, it was a very short run as a faction. So it's that's my only problem with it.
Sure.
That's I'll be honest with you. To me, I think that you forgot some of the factions from today. We are talking all-time great factions.
Team Taz.
Yeah, absolutely. No. However,
don't forget Hook, baby.
I'm gonna go into my list next since we're gonna do this.
You saw Randy's question.
Horsemen obviously were there. I think that's one. Dangerous Alliance, fantastic faction.
Yeah.
I think you missed two from Japan, though. The original Bullet Club, I think you have to throw in there. I think that they ended up being a faction that became multifaceted as the years went on. They ended up having a lot more versatility and had tremendous leaders no matter who took over. Whether you had AJ
Finn Balor.
Styles running it, whether you had Finn Balor running it, no matter who you have going, it has been a great stable. So to me, I think you have to have them in the great factions of all time at this point. Another one that I really like for a great faction is I've always been a fan, believe it or not, Nation of Domination. I think that it was ahead of its time period. You didn't see factions that were African American based necessarily all the time. So to see one go to that level and to end up obviously with the star that The Rock was, to have former world champion Ron Simmons, to have the Godfather in there.
Former world champion Mark Henry.
I think that it's ahead of its time. And I think that it quite frankly, its work still holds up to this day, other than Ahmed Johnson. And then my final faction, not the Hart Foundation. However, I am going to go down to Florida for a personal favorite. I am going to go with Kevin Sullivan's original faction that he had down there when he had Maniac Mark Lewin, he had King Curtis,
Sullivan's
he had
Army.
Woman. Yeah, Sullivan's Army was absolutely incredible. And I think that that's one of the great factions of all time also.
They're okay. They're no Hart Foundation. If you like your regional factions, very good.
I mean, they really set the stage for what Kevin Sullivan would do later, and it's interesting to see where that idea kind of started and how he got to play with the idea over the years.
Well, the difference is to be honest with you, it was more scary early on, whereas later on in WCW, it became more cartoonish. Yeah. The original faction, the original faction you saw in Florida, you believed were legitimately going to harm someone, whereas they became a caricature of themselves in WCW.
He put his hands on his wife too. I mean, they didn't know he was married to Nancy at the time, but he smacked her on TV down there.
Yeah, so it was a little ahead of its time and a little bit behind.
And then she ended up the Hurt Business. Hey, you know what? He did mention the Undisputed Era. They actually had a very solid run up until recently. A couple of years, they had all the belts at one point.
I think the
only they made NXT War Games.
Yeah. They really did.
And I, once again, I really like the Undisputed Era. I don't like that WWE never gave them the opportunity to really showcase and do what they can do.
Yeah.
True. Now I'm going to bring you my list. I got 4 Horsemen, Undisputed Era, Dangerous Alliance. I also put Bullet Club. I was thinking the original one, but I mean, anything up until post Kenny Omega, I'm all right with. And I've got the Inner Circle. But Jake Rule is in effect. Jake's popping at home for that. I also got the Hurt Business and Injustice in there.
Interesting. I'm the only one at NWO. Absolutely, like the biggest faction of all time that made the most money for WCW.
NWO ran wrestling into the ground when I was tuning out of it.
You know what? I'm not going to disagree with it. That's why, like, when I was thinking of my top 3, I wasn't sure if they'd make it to my top 1. But to me, it's like they were so big, they had to be in the final 3.
So here's the funny thing. I thought about not only adding them to my regular list, but I also thought about doing like a 1A and mentioning the actual NWO from Japan, because you talk about New Japan factions. They actually started off in New Japan before ever coming to WCW. And that's the prototype for what the Bullet Club eventually became.
Yeah, but the most successful and the greatest faction of all, of course, was Hogan, Stevie Ray, Vincent, the black and white NWO. Come on, that slapjack sucker. Huh?
So we'll cut that bullshit out. Do we have to argue it's anything other than the 4 Horsemen?
The 4 Horsemen are getting in. Yeah,
I'm saying for number 1.
Oh, we can argue that. Yeah, I mean, there's different levels. Let's come up with our final 3.
All right, because we got 4 Horsemen, Dangerous Alliance. We're in a lot of them.
I think the Dangerous Alliance is one of the most underrated factions of all time.
You know, the funny thing is, I guess from my point of view, my final three would have been NWO, Horseman, DX.
Once again, I think a lot of people didn't mention DX.
They did it. I was surprised.
No.
They really kind of like turned it around. And if you look at like in terms of like talent, if you compare DX to the NWO, like Shawn and Hunter, I mean, my God, the work rate there was off the pace.
This is gonna pain me to say, but the Horsemen ended up running into the same problem that the NWO eventually ran into. They ended up watering down the product, and when you start adding people to the mix who don't fit into the original prototype, you water it down and you end up being less than what you can be. It would be like if we added a fourth Horseman to the working fans. You just wouldn't get the dynamite that the three are.
And but you never know. We could be out there looking, guys. Suit up, bitches. Impress us.
Tyler Peters, put your Bible down and get ready to rock, brother.
If you don't think you just gave Randy Wood.
Looking at you, farm boy.
All right. So what do we got for top three then?
Based off the amount of votes, if that's what we're gonna have to do it, then I guess Bullet Club had to make it in there with the Horsemen, and then
Dangerous Alliance.
I guess it's gonna be Dangerous Alliance.
Although wait a minute, Backley threw in your Heart Foundation too.
Hey, to me, I put them over the Dangerous Alliance. I love the Dangerous Alliance.
Oof. So I would like to put, dude. I want to say a quick thank you. Daniel Backley's checking us out. He's a regular supporter of us. He's been in our corner the whole way.
Gauge my IQ.
Gauge my IQ.
Gauge my IQ. The man's got great taste in wrestling, great taste in shows, and we just want to say thank you for tuning in, Daniel.
And just to put a bow on this, I guess if that's our final three, then I'm going to go with the Horsemen because at the end of the day, although AJ's right, it did get watered down. They were also the trendsetters. They were the original.
They are. And the funny thing is the original's not even the best of the Horsemen. This is another debate for another time.
Hey, yeah. I'll throw mine out there real quick. To me, it's Flair, Iron, Barry, and Tully.
I thought you were going McMichael, but
why don't we have a Horseman debate next week instead of a live 5-3-1? See who's everybody's favorite faction is.
Well, let's put it to the test. Randy, I know you're tuning in. Do you want to have a Horseman debate next week?
Woo!
God, if he didn't get any harder than our earlier suggestion,
he's putting the suit up right now. Are you kidding me? He's about to show you why he's a kiss stealing, wheel stealing,
he's putting up
riding son of a bitch.
Instead of 3, he's putting up the 4, and it's
all right, guys. Let's talk about tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on all Renegade social medias. Knockout TV, episode 11. You got Anthony Katina versus Mike Reed. Dave, best match we've called. Not best match we've called in a while, but like this match stood out among others.
Yeah.
And also Apollo Jr. versus D3.
Yeah. It's a good episode. A lot of good young talent on this episode. Very promising. I really love the work rate of both matches. So good stuff.
A lot of guys that have been popping up on AEW Dark, D3.
Cantina,
Mike Reed.
I'll just tell you right now, Cantina. Jim Ross talks about this as a good quality. Very dislikable. Very dislikable. You want to hate the guy when you see him.
I'm gonna say young Randy Orton.
I was gonna tell you. I love Cantina. I've seen a lot of talent on this show so far that seem like they're a little on the kiss the fans ass kind of direction. But this Cantina kid, he understands that it's not about making the fans love you. It's about making the money and getting the job done.
Yeah, watch your ass around Cantina, as that referee's going to find out. No spoilers. But anyway.
All right. Now, tonight, we got NXT, Santos Escobar versus Karrion Kross. We've been looking forward to this match. What do you think is going to be the outcome?
I think everybody's looking forward to this match other than Escobar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just saw a thing. Cross's rehab, like for that torn rotator cuff he had, he was supposed to have like surgery. He opted out, and the timelines were like 6 to 8 months or 8 months to 12 months. He came back in like 3 or 4. He did this brutal rehab that he went into detail about basically every day with physical therapy. Multiple hours. Then he would bring all the stuff at the performance center that they would use, and he'd bring it back to his house and continue.
I saw one workout where he was doing where he had a hammock with Scarlett and another hot chick in a bikini, and he was freaking lifting both of them with that bad arm with a pulley system and actually working and pulling the two of them up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
Tyler
he's
Peters just
insane.
passed out on his couch right now.
The big thing is, too, we'll hear from Adam Cole tonight, too. So that'll be interesting to see what's going on. He's supposed to be on there.
No, I didn't say maybe. I said baby.
Oh, baby.
Yeah. That's exciting. We got Gargano versus Loomis non-title.
Thank God.
Grizzled Young Veterans are wrestling. What's that guy's name? Killian Dane and who's the Drake Maverick? Yeah.
Drake Maverick.
I'm going to call him Spud.
We didn't talk about this last week, but I don't think anything pissed me off more over the last couple of weeks than the Grizzled Young Veterans being runners up again. Those two should be winning the Dusty Cup. There's no reason.
I think they're very great in their role. I was happy MSK won it. To me, Grizzled Young Veterans are that team. I know why you like them, because they are that team. They're that team that really doesn't get the credit they deserve, but they put on awesome matches with everyone.
And that dude gets heat from an actual crowd when you get around.
Oh my God. Yeah. When you see him in front of a crowd, even they were wrestling in Liverpool, which is his hometown.
Yeah.
And
they're like taking off their shoes.
And they were literally throwing their shoes at the guy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane.
Zach Gibson is the one we're talking about.
Zach Gibson's incredible.
Yeah.
But let me be clear though, I have no problem with MSK. MSK is a great talent.
Yeah, I love them in Impact.
Two of them are absolutely. I'm not taking anything away from them. The Grizzled Young Vets, though, you got to put belts on them, a cup on them, something.
Now, guys, last show of the night, AEW. What match has you most excited for tonight?
Well,
Liverpool's number one, son. He's a fan.
The thing that's got me most excited is the idea that maybe we'll finally get that private party handicap match versus the Big Show. Sorry, Paul White.
Yeah, Ricky brought that up earlier. How crazy is that Big Show is going to AEW? I don't think anybody saw this coming.
You know what's funny is tonight's AEW was actually taped too, and they're talking about Big Show. So this has got to be something that was added in. So literally, this is very much a last-minute deal that kind of got done. At least got signed. So it'd be interesting to see what they talk about. But they're supposed to announce his commentating partner too.
Guys, hold on a second. I got breaking news here.
Oh, breaking news, you say?
Breaking news.
I thought he was fucking around on his phone. I didn't see this coming again.
Bronson Rechsteiner, the son of former WCW and WWE Tag Team Champion Rick Steiner,
yes,
is coming to the WWE. He's actually in the next class at the PC, along with Taya Valkyrie, Priscilla Kelly, and let's see, there was one more in there. Carissa Rivera, they're in that crowd. They're all coming to the PC next, so you're going to get a new Steiner.
Is it also Christian Casanova is in that crowd as well?
Yes, he is.
Former AEW talent.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing Taya Valkyrie also, the wife of John Morrison, so maybe we might see even more.
So much women talent right now. So pretty cool. Yeah.
I think Christian Casanova making it there is a huge thing. He could fit perfectly into that system. And if you haven't seen him around the country, you got to check this kid out.
The great thing about being in the Northeast is we've had opportunities to see Christian Casanova wrestle, and what a great talent he is.
Yeah, Blake Christian's been killing it on Impact and GCW recently, and now here he is. He gets a chance too.
Yeah, this is the first PC class that I've seen in a while that's absolutely loaded with talent. So that's a good step up for them. It's sad that they lost the Big Show because they lost probably my second favorite luchador behind Kane. However, they've done a good job of picking up some young talent.
Now, where are you guys with this new AEW show? Do you have excitement for it? Is it just going to be another thing?
Well, they're supposed to have another show still coming to TBS. Like, there's another show that's coming still. This is a second YouTube show they've added. So.
Okay, I was gonna say, who's to say Dark doesn't get bumped up or this doesn't show up? Like, why wouldn't Big Show make it on TV?
Tony Khan was very specific. He was asked about today. Yeah, because they asked, people thought that there was another show supposed to come to Turner, and I guess some people thought that might not be the case now. But he said, no, we're still getting another Turner show. This is just another show we're added to dark. So
you guys are going to be really excited. I actually have more breaking news for you.
Oh my God!
Yeah, the new show is actually going to be once the baby comes. It's actually going to be Cody and Brandy raising the baby in a reality show. So don't worry. There's not gonna be any wrestling in it. It's going to be what you really want.
I actually hope that like for an idea, I actually heard Conrad mention it'd be nice if they did like a especially in COVID right now, like a studio show. Like if we could get like little pods or something like that, and we had like a studio audience, and if they did something with the NWA and they were back on Saturday like 6:05, Joe, I see you repping the shirt. Come on, bro! I would love to see them back at 6:05 on a Saturday.
Big Show will narrate their show.
That's fantastic. A reality show with Brandy and Cody raising a baby named Paul.
Mm-hmm.
With the Big Show actually narrating. I think
Big Show will be a guest now on the Go Big Show.
Yes. Well, it's named after him.
All right, so we don't know what's going to be on MLW tonight. What is the match?
It's older. It's an underground episode. They're replaying from some of the earlier stuff.
So, that's right. I didn't look up what was on that episode. I know it's episode 20. So,
but let's be clear. You should tune in anyways. You want to support MLW, get out there, check out the show. Believe it or not, their old stuff is just as good as the current product, so check it out.
But that was going to lead to my question. Guys, let's end on a high note. What is the match that you think is going to be match of the night tonight?
I'm not going to lie. When he said that, I thought he was going to pick up his bong.
No, it's on the floor. It's a frame. AJ's money, Randy says.
That's printing it for you, Randy. When you join on board, woo!
So I'm going to give you my match first. I'm really excited for Moxley versus Ryan Nemeth. I think he's going to give him a chance to show something big. And, I mean, aside from Escobar versus Cross, I think that's the best thing out there tonight.
I like Ryan Nemeth. I think that he's got great ability. I do have a problem with this.
Has actual breaking news. I'm sorry.
Way to steal my gimmick, Backley. Way to steal my gimmick.
Wow.
Cage's audacity.
Davey Boy Smith Jr. going to the WWE. That's awesome.
Good. That's a good get.
But what I was saying about Ryan Nemeth is he's trying too hard to actually steal the gimmick of his brother right now. He needs to wrestle more like Ryan Nemeth and a little less like Dolph Ziggler.
I'm looking at the show right now. I am curious to see how they book Britt Baker and Nyla Rose since they're both heels. But the match, I would say I'm looking forward to.
Nyla Rose is a heel?
Yeah, I think they're both heels. Ray Phoenix versus Lance Archer. I think that looks like the match of the night to me. Yeah, I'll go with that. My enthusiasm.
All right, AJ, you got a opening spot.
It's really standing out tonight to me.
So what I'm gonna do tonight, because it seems like the cards might be a little slow in between during the commercial breaks, maybe a little bit of filler. I'm gonna check out this great book by Vince Barry. It's actually Lance by Chance, the story of how Lance Vaughn became Lance Von Erich with the amazing Von Erich family down in Texas. So I'm going to check that out in between the wrestling. But tonight,
we got 363 subscribers on YouTube on our way to 500, where we give away that first book.
Yes, guys, anyone you're watching the show, Randy, get out there and share our YouTube channel. Help us out. We need it. All right, we're trying to get to 400. We're going to give somebody a book. Come on, man. Let's go.
But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little disappointed in the AEW card tonight. You know, normally I check out AEW first and then go to NXT. I'm looking forward to watching NXT tonight far more than I am AEW, and I'll be checking that out long before.
Actually, there is a women's match that got added too. That girl who wrestled last week, Zoe Stark, I want to say her name is. She's wrestling Io Shirai. They did a little thing today where Io was, I guess, cleared to come back, and William Regal came up to her and said, "How would you like an opportunity to wrestle Io in a non-title match, of course?" And, you know, she's like, "Absolutely." So we'll see how that goes. It's nice to see the profile of another woman. So,
yeah. And Backley once again brought up something good. Castle Attacks this weekend from New Japan Pro Wrestling. I believe is it Friday night coming up that it's
Moxley Kenta.
Moxley versus Kenta, yeah.
Yep.
And then Castle Attack, I think, is Saturday, Sunday,
Saturday,
or maybe
Sunday.
just Saturday.
Yeah, and then Bloodsport was this past weekend too.
Yeah.
And it was just announced on Bloodsport. The next one I think is April 8th. It's going to be Moxley versus Barnett. So
I like that they're doing the Bloodsports more actively now. That you're not doing them just once a year. I would like to see them done quarterly. I don't think you want to do them too much because I think you'll start to almost take away from the what it is. But I would love to see it actually Bloodsport become a regular quarterly event.
I will say this too. I know we're going to probably head out, but John Moxley, just because he's doing all this stuff like with Bloodsport, New Japan, I always liked the guy, but he's becoming one of my favorites now. Like just the interviews, everything about him. Like I'm starting to become a big Moxley fan. Like he's just winning me over.
Yeah, now if he just wrestled better, I would love it.
Hot take.
All right, Josh DeBoard's going to love that, but we'll go out on a high note. And guys, we will see you next week.
Cody Rhodes'